What's going on, guys? It's your boy Barrow77 coming to you live with my main man, Nick Dianni. Actually, this isn't live. This is pre-recorded, so we are getting ready for week 8, match week 8 of Champions League. It is an absolutely massive slate. Every single game, all 18 are kicking off at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. It is the right move with the elimination of groups and what the implications are of who's moving forward and who's not. It's the right move to have all 18 games. However, it's going to make it an absolute fucking nightmare to cover on Wednesday. And there are games that actually matter, and there are games that don't matter or matter slightly less. So Nick and I are going to go through 9 games that really, really matter about who's advancing, who's not, who's getting a bye, who's not, and stuff like that. I am going to record this all in kind of one shot here while I have Nick and his time, but I'm going to edit this up and I'm going to cut it into smaller individual to watch segments. So just be aware that I'm going to do some back-end editing on this stuff. It's not going to be like our live shows where it's super fluid and coherent. So just kind of bear with us on that. And other than that, I'm really looking forward to this Champions League. And I don't think it's not that I dislike the new format. I'm not ready to pass judgment on the new format yet until I let it play out for an entire year. I will tell you a couple of my opinions right off the bat. Number one, finding what the rules were for yellow card suspensions yesterday was a fucking nightmare. And I do not have a law degree, in reading UEFA bylaws isn't super friendly. So I did need to kind of hunt around different places on Google to find it out. Cards don't reset until between groups and semis. So if you do not get a bye and you have a hack on your team, you are getting suspended at 3 cards, 5 cards, 7 cards, and God forbid 9 cards. But I think that is a major disadvantage. I think that next year they need to wipe cards between qualifiers, or what used to be called groups and what we're now calling qualifiers, in the following round. I don't think that gives any major advantage to guys with buys. It definitely gives a slight advantage to guys with buys, but I think that needs to be changed, because or you need to change it to you get suspended for 3, 6, 8, and 10 cards instead of 3, 5, 7, and 9.
And how's it even possible to get 10 cards in 7 group stage matches, right? It's not theoretically possible. So Why is it even in the
right? So if you're not going to reset it after groups or whatever, I do have a little bit of a problem with that, because that's a major disadvantage. And it doesn't, cards don't automatically make you a hack, and they're not automatically given for just atrocious tackles. Sometimes you need to make a tactical defensive foul, and you're going to eat a card because you're going to save a goal.
Fact. I mean, hey, man, I'll take the positive. I largely like this new format. I think it made for some interesting matchups. It definitely gives or takes away an advantage depending on who you are, because we all know in this sport, home field advantage is massive. But it's as massive as it is within your domestic league. It's 10 times that in the Champions League. You're in another country, right? So You're talking about a team I'll use Dinamo Zagreb as an example. A lot of teams have a hard time going out there and winning a game. So half their games at home, that's a huge advantage for them, especially if they're playing teams on their level. Maybe they're not the best example because they're on the outside looking in, but
they are this season. They've been big upsets before. When they beat Chelsea at home, what was it, 2 seasons ago? Yeah. Same with Red Star. Perfect example. Red Star, a team that we're not going to talk about today, that didn't accumulate a lot of points. I think the not having groups and playing the same team home and away is a bigger disadvantage for these smaller clubs that have outstanding home field presence.
Yep. But then I'm looking at kind of the flip side. If you look and,
it was huge this year for French teams.
That's exactly where I was going. Every French team is in a qualifying spot, and Lille and Brest have to be the 2 most
upsets.
Yeah, the
Surprises?
the biggest surprises of the tournament so far, both really strong home records. They both have 4 wins. They're both going to make it to the next round. So shout out to them. PSG, obviously, we know what they're doing, and Monaco's right there as well. So it's been interesting from that standpoint. I think early on, sportsbooks didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't know what to expect. A lot of goals came in early, so there was opportunities to take advantage of that early on. I think the lines certainly have we'll obviously get into it. The lines have certainly sharpened match week 6, 7, and 8, but it's been fun. I think if you're a neutral, if you're just into betting overs, if you're looking to be able to find an edge, this new format was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm not going to I don't think that I disagree with Jamie Carragher and what he said last week in the post-game show.
Doesn't even matter what he said. I'm with you. I disagree with Jamie.
Exactly. Yeah, he's kind of an ass. And I say this all the time. Like, I know Carragher is not the end-all, be-all, but, like, the guy's got the job that I want, so I'm going to be hypercritical of him because, like, fuck him. Like, he sucks at his fucking job. I should have that job. To say that, you know, with the old group stage that match week 6 was boring because you already kind of know who's going through and who's not. Maybe to a certain degree in like a couple of groups, but like absolutely no discredit. This match week 8 is going to be absolutely thrilling, and we're going to get right into it here. With our first match about what it means, because there are significant implications for who's going to qualify and more of the bottom of the table now as opposed to the top and bottom of groups. I always thought groups were mostly decently competitive even on the final day, especially there's always the group of death. There's always one cakewalk group that like doesn't matter, but I thought the majority of groups were always still pretty competitive on the final day.
For sure.
So first up, we have the biggest game, and this is kind of going to define the entire table and what's going on, and that is, will City qualify? City absolutely has to win this game to qualify. It's not 100% guarantee win this game and you're in, but it's about as close as it gets because even if PSG Stuttgart tie, Man City will beat Stuttgart on goal differential, and they'll be on the inside with Stuttgart on the outside, depending on how the rest of the table shakes out in different games. This is as close to a win and get in position as you are going to get with this new format. City has to win this game if they want to move on into the next round. I'm not sure that they necessarily want to do that and move on to the next round. I think that they're struggling. They did get a nice win over the weekend in EPL. I think that they're struggling in EPL, and I think they're not winning Champions League, guys. Like, they're just not. I don't know how to make that any clearer, but they're not going to win Champions League. So if you want to play Champions League ball next year, you have to finish top 4 in England. You cannot bank on the fact that England might get their 5th place team into Champions League or an at-large, something like that. Finish top 4 domestically. So maybe it's better if City doesn't qualify. They're not going to think of it that way. It's a lot of money. They just spent like $1 billion in the transfer window, got a nasty young Brazilian center back and a couple other things here, spent a lot of money. One of the important things for this match is new winter signings cannot be registered. So for City, that means you cannot see Marmoush. And when we get to it in PSG, you're not going to see Special K. That said, this game being in City definitely makes me think they can win this. If this was away in Bruges, I would put a lot of money where my mouth is, and I would take Bruges on the double chance because Bruges is, I don't want to say impossible, but they are very, very difficult to beat in Belgium. I'm obviously a Madrid fan, and I'm not scared of anybody, but I do not want to go to Bruges and play Bruges. That's not a good draw. That's a very difficult place to play. And this Bruges team is really solid. I think that Bruges on the +2 here at +107 is tons of value. The plus 2.25 at like -120-ish if you want a little extra there. I'm leaning the under here too, because I know that Bruges can play really defensive football. I'm not sure what City's position is here. Knowing that they have the goal differential advantage, do they come out and go full bore attack, or do they try and possess the football, grind Bruges' legs down, and get 1 or 2 goals and just get away with this? Because the way City's been playing, I just don't think they're talented enough to come out, stand on the throttle, and go, we're going to score 3 on Bruges in the first half. Like, I just don't see that happening.
No, I tend to agree. Let's come to terms with where the City club is, the position they're in this competition, and the position Bruges is in. They're ahead of City. They have a win, one more win than City
They're
has.
in with a draw. They're in.
Right? They're in with a draw. They've set themselves up. It's unfortunate that they have to travel to Manchester for this game, but they've set themselves up as best they possibly can. Their defense has been fantastic this competition. They've only allowed 8 goals in 7 games so far. The issue with them is they're not really scoring, but City's defense has been equally bad. City just came off of 2 really high pressure games, right? The loss to PSG, and then a couple days later, they did take care of business against Chelsea, and pretty much was what was a must-win game for them. And now you have another one just 4 days later. So I kind of agree with you. I wish this would get to 2.5. I would be all over it. I think the +2 is a pretty decent look. I kind of just like Bruges team total. I think they get a goal, and you can almost combine those two, or if you like one, you probably like the other, because if you think Bruges get a goal, that means City would need to score 4 in order for you to lose your bet. So the +2 isn't that bad. Over half a goal here for Bruges is kind of where I'm at. I think they're going to give it a fight. They have every incentive to do so. And until City snaps out of it, I'm not talking about a win at Ipswich. I'm not even really talking about a win at Chelsea, who, by the way, Chelsea's in a run of form that City was in 2 months ago, right?
Yep.
Chelsea has fallen off of a cliff. So I don't put too much stock in those.
They play no
wins.
defense either. Neither did, like, so right. City's coming off playing, I'm not going to say PSG plays no defense. They were at the Parc des Princes. They are much stiffer defensively there. But they're coming off games that they've gotten 2 or more goals in against teams with, I'll call 2 atrocious defenses, and Chelsea and Ipswich, and PSG's a mid defense at best.
Right. So, this is the game, right? This is the entire season.
This is the biggest. This is the must-watch game of the slate.
I expect something of an outing from them, whether it's covering the spread, whether it's getting a goal, maybe it's both. Would it shock me to see City win? Of course not. They're -550 for a reason, but I think Bruges are going to give it everything they have.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think that I'm going to end up playing Bruges on the +2 here at +107. I'm with you. I think Bruges absolutely can score at -115. I might throw just a couple of bucks, a cup of coffee on the draw at +700, because I think that's a major runner.
Yep.
And I think the under 3.5 is really live here as well. Just with the way Bruges plays defense, and the idea behind that is City doesn't need to run it up. They just need to win the game. So even if Bruges doesn't score and I lose that team total bet, if I can get the spread and the under, like, I think that's 3 very good ways to play this game that all correlate, where a 2-1 City win can cash all 3 of those bets.
Fact.
So before we move on, I do have the whatever predicted lineups from FOTMob. These aren't even close to accurate. I was joking around with Nick before the show. FOTMob, I think they just go with whoever's highest paid at the position they put in, because, like, Grealish isn't starting. He hasn't started a match for City, like, all game. I fully expect to see Silva. But we'll talk a little player props and some previews on that sort of stuff. As far as Bruges goes, I've said it kind of all season. I'm a big Decipher guy. I like him to take a couple of shots, maybe even get a shot on target. I am a Jungala fan. He's a Spanish national. This is a very defensive Bruges team. I can see cards from kind of like this whole backline midfield. I also don't think they're going to run 4-1-4-1 kind of deal here. Neither is City. Like, these formations aren't great, but to talk about some player prop stuff, like Garvidal's a guy we talk about all the time. He has that sweet spot right at the top of the box. He likes to shoot. He gets involved in set pieces. I like him for a shot on target. I don't know. I want to say Foden to score an assist because he got hot that Ipswich game. He had a very good opportunity in the PSG game, but the ball got cut out and Haaland ended up scoring it. You need your main guys to show up here. I'm not going to try and talk anybody out of a Haaland goal as like part of a parlay thing, but like I'm not going to reach and I'm not going to pay negative money for Haaland to score. So, I think Garvidal, I think there's going to be some props here. Definitely worth looking at. Like I said, Decipher and Jogala are the guys I really like for Bruges. That said, I want to give a shout out to BetUS. If you guys need a sports book, please check out the link below. Use my promo code, get 125% deposit match. You can use anything you like over there at BetUS. I use them all the time, especially for cards, since that market isn't offered here in Michigan. And anything else, they're the best price at because you always got to go get the best number. Next up, we have Sporting versus Bologna. Bologna is like they cannot make the competition, but they can play spoilers here. Sporting at home in Portugal is going to be really tough. This isn't necessarily a this is a win and get in situation. If you win this game, you're definitely in. Sporting, rightfully so, minus 290 on the money line here. But Bologna has been playing a lot better football. I don't know if you guys have been watching them over in Italy. Their new manager is finally starting to click. It definitely is a major bummer that Orsolini took a knock and got hurt. That does kind of ruin my opinion that they might be able to play spoilers here. I'm not saying they can't, because that plus 1.25 is looking kind of tasty at the minus 175. But I do think Sporting handle their business here in Portugal. I can see Bologna scoring for sure. A team total over 0.5 at minus 150 is probably a little steep, but both teams to score is probably sitting around like minus 130-ish. So I think that's a pretty good number. I can definitely see the over 2.5 as well. Minus 157 is obviously not a great number. But Nick has said it before on the show. I think Sporting has to score 2 goals here, like to feel comfortable in this matchup, and knowing that a win gets you in for sure, and a tie puts you in a little bit of no man's land, and worried about your future. You want to come out and you want to take control and you want to put your own future in your own hands. So the team total over 1.5 at minus 200 is essentially the money line, because it seems like the sportsbooks agree with Nick. You got to score 2 goals to win this game.
Dude, it's unfortunate. I don't like to make it the business to come on and trash the Italian teams. I have a soft spot for them. Everything you said's correct. Bologna has been playing way better, but they're just a little bit out of their element in this competition. It's a combination of a lot of things. They did lose 2 of their best players last year. They do have a new manager. They're struggling to find form in the domestic league, which they finally have found. So too many balls to juggle. And fortunately, man, I think this Sporting team has all too much to play for. They're going to be too much to overcome in this match. You mentioned it. Orsolini's hurt. Bologna does have some interesting, good young talent, but their striker Castro is only 19 years old. He's off to a fantastic start, but a lot to ask of him in a game like this in Portugal. I kind of go the other way from where you're leaning here, and it's not often that I do that. I think we've been in a good rhythm of finding a lot of the same bets, which I love, but I think Sporting could win this 1-0. I kind of dig the Bologna under half a goal at plus 140. I think it's going to be tough for them to get one. I also like under 3. If you want to take a look at the Asian total, under 3 is minus 135.
Yeah.
If I don't think Bologna is going to score, which I don't think they are, Sporting would have to put up 4 to crush that number. 3, you still get a push. I think unless Gyökeres really goes in and, gets a hat trick by himself, which he's very capable of doing, that number seems pretty safe because Bologna still wants to leave with their heads held high. I don't think they're just going to say, hey, Sporting, you guys need this win. Here you go. Congratulations. There's still money on the line. There's still some sense of pride on the line. They're not going to make it easy, but I think Sporting has it all to play for, and I'd be really shocked if they don't get the win.
Yeah. Look, there's plenty of good reasons why Nick is probably correct in that 140 looks great on Bologna away not to score. Bologna hasn't scored an away goal this entire Champions League tournament. I think that that's something you can hang your hat on going out of Champions League, not playing Europa, which I think is kind of a bonus. For Bologna in particular, because they have been doing so much better in Serie A, not having to say, okay, well, we're going down. Like, if you got third in the group last season, they are a team that could go, okay, well, maybe we can make a run in Europa and then, let's a couple of points slip in Serie A. No longer having European football to worry about is something I think Bologna is going to help them long term, especially in Serie A, to build on the progress that they're making the rest of the season, which is where their focus should be. Sporting, I will say, for being in Portugal, and they're 2-0-1 at home in Portugal, but they've coughed up 6 goals at home in Portugal. Now, I believe one of those games they took a red card in, so that could be skewing these stats a little bit, but Bologna scoring a goal wouldn't completely surprise me, but I see where you're coming from. I think that the value is on them not to score. Right. If you're going to get involved with it as a standalone, I kind of like the both teams to score angle, and maybe the both teams to score over 2.5 to get right around a plus number. But them not to score is the value because, again, they've scored 0 goals on the road so far this year. I do want to talk some player props here as well. Again, these are predicted lineups from FotMob. Whether or not they're accurate, they're probably not. I can almost guarantee you they're not for most of these. The important thing is, for me anyway, the guys who are suspended won't be listed here, and that'll come into play when we talk about the Madrid game because Vinny's obviously suspended there. But for me, looking at the lineup for the rest of these teams, there's so many guys on 3 cards, and figuring out who's suspended and who's not is kind of difficult without a visual. And there's plenty of guys on 2 cards, and I'm not going to get into who's looking at a suspension, who's not, because right now in all the games we're talking about, these are must-win games or games that actually mean something where you're competing for a bye. So getting the bye is huge, again, with the card suspension rules I talked about earlier. Anyway, as far as some player props go, one thing I definitely want to point out is Ndoi. Ndoi, for Bologna, I think is going to get a heavy run of minutes, especially with Orsolini hurt. Ndoi has been offsides in every one of his last 4 games. He started 3 of the last 4, and his offsides prop is plus 135 over on DK. If Bologna want to score a goal on the road and give themselves something to hang their hats on, I think Ndoi cheating up and getting called for an offsides. He's got 5 offsides all tournament for Bologna, and like I said, 1 in each of his last 4. He's only started 3 of his last 4, came on as a sub, and still got an offsides call. So I think that plus 135 number over on DraftKings is fat.
That's a sick find. And I was actually going to single him out for a shot on target. He's even money. Mm-hmm. I think everything you just said supports it, right? He's a guy that is going to need to do a lot of the legwork on the right side and in that midfield. He's going to be making those runs, and he's very strong on the ball. He's not a forward or a striker in that sense, but he certainly can get his shot off. And I think even money is a pretty good value for a shot on target. I'm expecting full 90 from him.
Yeah, he's the guy I really liked betting on in Europa. He played super strong for the Swedish national team. and he was a little bit disappointing to start the season. Again, the guy is young. Bologna was going through a huge transition. They were changing, managers, sold a bunch of players. It's kind of a rebuilding season for Bologna, and we're starting to see that rebuild take shape a little bit. I also don't hate Odegaard. I think he's been playing pretty well for them. And like Nick mentioned, Castro is 19 years old, starting striker. I think he's got a lot of quality in him. Posh is another guy that you heard me talk a ton about for the national team. He's a right back who likes to shoot, and he's going to find his spots, and he's going to take shots. He's also high-key kind of a hack. He's a guy I would really look at for cards as well. Look, Gregores is minus 120 for a goal. I hate laying juice on goal scorers. I'm prepared to lay minus 120 on him to score. Like, he has to score, especially with Mendea suspended. He plays for Celtic. Sorry. I get all the green team. Yeah, all the green non-Big Four teams messed up in my head sometimes. I have bet Trinicao several times, and he's disappointed me each time. So I'm not going to bet him this game, which means he's probably going to do something here. But yeah, I have no problem laying the minus 120 on Gregores. He obviously came in as a sub and got a goal last game. No matter how mad you are at him or how much of an issue off the field or locker room stuff has been, it's win or go home. And if you don't start Gregores, you deserve to lose your fucking job on the spot.
100%. Just to shout out what you just said, Posh is plus 180 for a card. I think that's solid. That. The other guy I'd look at too in the midfield for Bologna is Pobega. Good, solid player, but he's a true defensive midfielder, and he's going to be the one trying to stop that attack, and a tactical foul or even a hack foul is not beyond him. It's only plus 120. It's a really shitty number. I'd like for it to be plus 150 or better, but I think it's as much of a certainty as anybody on the team getting a card.
Oh man, I'm going to struggle with this one. Hudgman, 42 here for Sporting. Typically has the armband. Is another guy to look at for a card. If Pedro Goncalves is in this starting lineup because Sporting wants a little bit more of an attack, he's another guy that I would definitely look at. I am a big fan of Pedro Goncalves. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of where I'm at as far as player props go. I like Posh to take a shot, maybe get a shot on target, like you said, booking, along with Pogba or Poegba. Ndoye shot on target. I really like Ndoye offsides.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with player props, and Gregores for a goal, even at minus 120, like. That's kind of a Gregores win cast. So him to score and Sporting to win seems like kind of a layup here.
Agree.
Last thing, if you guys don't already know, please check out the links below. Join the Discord. We've been crushing it the last couple of weeks. I didn't mention this on Twitter. We hit 3 broken lines last week in the same week. It was an absolutely insane run. I haven't seen that in my 5 years of handicapping since, handicapping became legal in Illinois. Getting, Kimmich for a single shot at minus 170, Tuchemeni for a single shot at minus 140, and then Moise Kean to be offsides for Fiorentina. Once was minus 105, twice was plus 475. He was offsides twice in 13 minutes, guys.
Sure
Moises Kean leads Serie A in offsides, and they hung minus 105 on it. Absolutely disrespectful. Next up, we have Juventus versus Benfica, and this is a massive one for Benfica as well. This is another win and you're in game. A draw here most likely keeps Benfica in too, strictly on goal differential. Benfica sitting on 10 points, 11 points is probably going to get the job done for them here. It's away. It's at Juve. The over-under is very telling here. Over 2.5 goals at plus 115. Again, Juve has really struggled to put balls in the back of the net. Benfica had a wild, super sloppy rain game versus Barca that went 4-5. But Benfica did look good. Whether or not Di Maria starts is going to be a huge thing for me here. But I like Benfica to come away with at least a point. You're going to want to control your own destiny here. I think the draw is a big-time runner at plus 230. I think Benfica on the Asian handicap at plus 0.25, plus 102 is definitely worth a play. I personally don't like half wins. So what I would do is I would probably buy this up to plus 0.5. And that way I take the full win for a draw for like the double chance kind of there. The sportsbooks, at least, I think, have this right. Benfica to score at minus 220. I know Juve's defense is really, really tough, but if you're in a situation where it's win and you're in and you're not scoring a goal, then you're not controlling your own destiny. So I think Benfica have to find a way to get on the score sheet here. I don't know if Juve can score too. Like that's where I'm at with this. So I think the under is a live runner here at minus 128. I think that Benfica on a spread, whether it's this plus 0.25 or plus 0.5, is a runner. I think Juve team total under is almost kind of worth laying the juice at minus 160 because who's scoring twice for Juve?
No one. I think the lowest odds for a goal scorer plus 230. So that should tell you everything you need to know. You hit every point. Juve, listen, they're the draw kings. They have 3 draws out of 7 in this competition. They have 13 draws out of 20 in Serie A. This is what they do. Plus 230 is actually, it doesn't seem like it, but it's kind of a tremendous value considering how much they draw.
And considering that Juve don't need shit out of this game. Juve's in, period.
Definitely don't. They're in. There's no 4-point wins yet in Champions League. They haven't changed that rule yet, so they can't be caught. That being said, could they very potentially, like 5 other results have to go their way? Could they sneak into the top 8?
Yep.
Maybe. I don't think they're thinking that way. I'm certainly not thinking that way. They're going to be tough at home. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Their defense has been good. They've only given up 5 goals in this competition so far. But to your point, they haven't scored. They've only scored 9 goals. 3 of those were in one game. So if you take that out, this is a 1 goal a game team. So no need to play an over here. There's no need to play a team total here for Juve. I like Benfica on the spread. Plus 0.25 is fine if you're into that Asian market. If you're not, to Oaks' point, buy it up, lay a little bit of juice, probably minus 130 for a double chance. If it's even that, might even be better. Shame on me for not having it up.
Give me 1 second. I got you.
It is minus 150. It's actually worse. So if you can get that around minus 140, I'd probably play it. Minus 150 is a little steep because a lot of things can obviously happen, but Benfica has to be it. And if you want
Benfica on the, so double chance and plus 0.5 are the same thing. On the Asian handicap, you can get minus 143 on Benfica. So that's, again, it is heavy juice, but like, again, who's scoring twice for Juve?
I don't know. The other thing I'll say, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I can pull up player props now, or do you want to pull up?
Yeah, let's pull up player props now. Just so we're all clear, Dusan's not fucking starting. Like, the managers made it very fucking clear. You don't get back and you don't participate on defense, you don't have a spot on my team.
And it's correct. So that situation's been frosty for a long time. Now with Malta in, he seems like he's going to be the guy to lead Juve for the next couple of years. I totally get it. You have to set an example. You want the mentality of your team to be better. It's still Juventus at the end of the day. Their results have not been up to par.
Their expectations are compete for a fucking Scudetto, compete for Champions League.
100%.
If you're not going to play Malta's brand of football, we don't need you, and he doesn't care how much they paid for you.
Spot on. So I agree with that mentality. I'm wondering what's going to happen. Gonzalez might play a false 9. We don't know. But the props I'm looking for here are going to be on the
Benfica side.
Going to be on the Benfica side, man. You have a guy, Pavlidis, who scored a hat trick last game. I think he scored a hat trick in the first half.
Yep.
You're hanging plus 250 on him to score a goal in a game that they need. That seems a little bit unfair. I think that's a great number to take a shot at. And then we have, you mentioned it, I don't know if Di Maria is going to be playing or not. If he is, give him an assist at plus 450. 1 assist and he equals Ronaldo for the all-time leader in the Champions League. That's just silly. So obviously, make sure he starts if you can, but plus 450 is a ridiculous number. 2 player props I'm very happy with taking. If we lose 2 units, so be it, but I don't think that's going to happen. This is a game they absolutely need. I expect somebody to come through.
It's actually one of those very rare occasions where I'm fine. If you're not going to be able to watch the game and live bet, I'm fine taking Di Maria, even if he doesn't start at plus 470 for an assist, especially on FanDuel with their super soft assist grading rules. If you can't watch the game live and you have to do all your betting pregame, I'm fine taking Di Maria because, again, he is looking to break the record. This is a must-win, or not a must-win, but a win in your in
Pretty
game.
much.
A draw does Benfica just fine as well. Di Maria, I completely agree with you, has the chance to tie Ronaldo's record. Disrespectful ass number on that assist there. The other thing I want to mention is Pavlidis offsides. Pavlidis has been offsides in his last 4 starts. He's got 5 total in UCL. He's sitting at plus 175 right now on DK to be offsides
Silly.
once.
I wonder if there's going to be correction in this market, because it seems like everyone you're throwing out there is like a slammer.
Yeah. And look, these markets are inflated because it is Champions League. Like, everything is tougher in Champions League. That's why I love betting Champions League. That's why I do all these videos with Nick and for you guys, is because this is where you get the best players at the best value, because they are playing the hardest competition on the planet. Like, there's a reason that you don't see Haaland at plus money a lot in EPL for anytime goal scorer, but you're going to find him at plus money in Champions League. It's because what this means, it means more. So, but yeah, I like Pavlidis for an offsides, plus 175 over on DK. Another guy for an assist that I think we have to talk about is, and he's not listed in this FOT Mob lineup, and if Juve don't play him, I have enough problems with Juventus already. If you're not starting Weston McKennie, what are you doing? Like, then you're telling me you're fine sitting on 12 points. You're fine not even putting your name in the conversation for a bye. Weston McKennie has looked like the best player on year 11 for a long time now.
Agreed.
And the fact that he is American and it feels like he has to fight for his job just because he's American all the time kind of bugs me, because without it, like, he led your club in assists last season. He's looked like an absolute stud. That every time you start him, he can play every position on the pitch. Like, what more do you need? You tried to short him $2 million last year. Like, you tried to play hardball with him on his contract, and he's been the best player in year 11. Like, I don't know what Juventus is doing or why McKennie gets this rap. I know that he can kind of be a pain in the ass to, like, some guys. Maybe a locker room thing, but I don't know. It seems like he's doing very, very well in Italy, and it just seems kind of disrespectful for me. But anyway, McKennie assist at plus 575 is a little outrageous. Again, led the club in assists last season, has looked really good in kind of all his starts. Even if he's playing left back, like, I kind of like his shots and his shot on target. Like, McKennie knows how to find the frame. He can come forward when he needs to. He seems to have a really good connection with Yildiz and is able to find him in space all the time. So, yeah, I like McKennie for a shot on target, and I like his assist.
Everything you said, I echo it. I second it. You're absolutely right. He is a menace off of set pieces as well. Gets his head on the ball. So definitely good shouts. is likely playing left back, so Cambiaso's listed here.
Yeah.
Coach already said that he's not going to play. He's likely moving to Manchester City, so they're calling it an injury, but he's not playing this game either. So wait for that final lineup, but he is likely playing left back.
Is Coop Meaners going to embarrass you today?
I don't know. I'm on the once every 5 games. I'm going to take him to do something because he eventually will. And let me tell you, the Twitter haters will be waiting for me when that happens. But the number's not good. Like, he's plus 375 to score. I've gotten him at plus 500 against lesser opposition. So not the game I'm going to take a stab with Coop. But he has been terrible.
I don't hate his shot on target. I can't get the best number here because my odds shopping tool is just a little slow to update with these markets for shots on target. But plus 115 FanDuel isn't terrible, but if you can stretch that out into the plus 150 neighborhood, then I'm looking at getting involved in Coop Meaners just to hit the frame. But here's the thing is Juve's not going to shoot a whole ton, or at least that's my opinion of it. If I have to take somebody on Juventus to get a goal, I'm going to take Yildiz just because he's been in the best form for them. And again, this is just being a little bit slow for me on finding the best price, but Yildiz at plus 350 seems pretty disrespectful. If anybody's going to find the back of the net for Juve, it's probably going to be him.
Yeah, and he's I shouldn't say that because Conceição is actually very good as well, but Yildiz is a game breaker. He's one of the guys on the team that has talent. He carries the ball. He wants the ball. He's not afraid to shoot. He gets central, even though he's listed as a winger. If anything can make something out of nothing and produce a goal by himself, he's the only guy on Juve that can do that. So absolutely with you on the logic.
A couple other things I want to mention here is Otamendi to be booked at plus 150 is always a good shout. Again, the guy is gigantic. I think that his headed shot on target is always worth a look. He's a good guy that they pick out for set pieces. So I do like Otamendi for a shot as well. Maybe even a headed shot on target if you want to get a lot extra with it. But that's kind of where I'm at here. I love your look of Pavlidis for a goal. I like him to be off sides as well.
Killer.
Di Maria assist, Otamendi booking, Otamendi shot on target, headed shot on target. Weston McKennie, I'm going to take for a shot on target and possibly an assist just for a little sprinkle because, that I just am not sure how much Juve is going to score, but the value is super there on McKennie at plus 575 for an assist, and Yildiz for a goal at plus 350 just seems flat out disrespectful.
Agree.
All right, guys. So appreciate you tuning in. As always, make sure to like and subscribe right here on youtube.com/@Baroque772. It costs you absolutely nothing. It helps me out a ton. It allows me to bring you all this stuff for free every week. So please like and subscribe, and that way you get notified on YouTube anytime we're doing lives or I have some new content up. So moving on along, we got Stuttgart versus PSG. This is the other big game. This is the must watch. This is, if you have 2 TVs and you can only turn into two games, the 2 season defining games are City Bruges and Stuttgart PSG. I want to be with PSG, but only on the money line here. Plus 175 feels like a very, very good number for PSG. Stuttgart is in bigger trouble. If they get a draw and City gets a win, they are likely on the outside looking in. So this is kind of a must-win game for Stuttgart at home. Like I said, I don't hate being with PSG on the money line here. Draw is obviously a runner at plus 155. It doesn't get any more runner than that. But that said, if I have to pick a side, I'm probably going with Stuttgart on the draw no bet at plus 126. Because do I think PSG can win this, especially after last game? Absolutely. this team still is not like they're not the same team away from the Parc des Princes.
No.
It's not like Stuttgart has been particularly good, but like it's in Germany. The stadium is going to be jumping. I looked at the forecast even too. Like that's how prepared I am for this. I went and looked up the weather. It's supposed to be like 40 and rainy in Stuttgart. So we're not going to get a German snow game, but it's going to be uncomfortable. So that makes it tough with the conditions. Again, this is as close to a must-win game as you're going to get for Stuttgart. And if I can get them on a draw no bet at plus 126, that's huge. That's a very big number for me. Again, I do want to mention it. PSG is not going to be able to register Kvaratskhelia, Special K, who did have an assist in his first start for PSG over the weekend. But I definitely like both teams to score over 2.5 here. I think over 2.5 is for sure the play at plus 110. Stuttgart aren't really built to be in a game that doesn't contain goals. I don't think their defense is good enough. I don't think that their defense is anywhere near good enough to stop the likes of like Kanyan Lee, Barcola. I don't super rate Dembele, but he does show up and tend to shut me the fuck up when it comes to Champions League. And he's been playing better for them, especially in Champions League. So, and then like you got like guys like Achraf Hakimi, who's an absolute stud. I know he plays on the back line, but he's nasty from set pieces. Zaire Emery too. Like PSG got shooters all over the pitch here, and they got guys who can go in their bag and find goals from damn near anywhere on the pitch. So I see goals here. I like both teams to score. I like the over 2.5. Over 2.5 is good enough to play on its own at plus 110. Again, I think PSG scoring twice at plus 150 is big value. I think Stuttgart scoring twice is massive value at plus 215. I don't know. I could see like a 2-2 draw here too, because the big thing is, and you can't scoreboard watch as a player in the stadium, but somebody on this management is going to know, and they are going to have eyes on the Man City Bruges game. And if Bruges somehow takes a lead, you might see Stuttgart's guys hollering from the sideline like, "Yo, fam,
back it up,
fucking cough shit up." Like I'm not saying we're good, but like it's the 83rd minute, and like let's just not cough anything up right now.
This is a tough one for me because I'm trying to separate my disdain for PSG and the drum that I've been beating for years that they are the most overrated, overvalued team in this competition year in and year out, from what I think is actually going to happen. First and foremost, let me agree with you that the over 2.5 is my favorite bet. So absolutely with you. Even if you're scared of a 1-1 draw, you want to go to the Asian total, over 2.25 is like minus 120. So you can get half a stake if you're scared about a 1-1. But I think over 2.5 is the play here. So I'm with you 100% on that. That being said, it's really hard for me to envision the second round of the Champions League without PSG and without Man City. Like I can't see a scenario where both of them don't make it. As much as I would love that, I just don't think the football gods are going to allow that to happen. But I love that Stuttgart's at home here. Listen, they have it all to play for, the same that PSG does, right? They're in a position on the same exact 10 points. Yeah, their goal differential's worse, but they've earned themselves the last game of the tournament here or in this group stage at home with a chance to progress. So you cannot take them lightly. They got 2 wins in their last 2 games to pull them even back into this position because they started off really poorly. Yeah. But this is a team that I think is just better than they ever get credit for. So
they got 5-1 by Red Star. Like it was in Red Star, which we always say, like, going to Belgrade is no fucking joke. Chief Ndidi is a monster. You guys know I rate the shit out of him. But yeah, Stuttgart, they kind of tuned themselves up, getting a 5-1 result at home versus Young Boys. Getting a nice result away, 1-3 at Bratislava. But, you're right. It's at home. Winning, you're in. Like, that's it. It's
You
winning.
can't really ask for much more
in Germany.
You can't really ask for much more. So,
I think you got to come out standing on the throttle here too, because
definitely.
That's Stuttgart's identity. Like, playing defense.
And if you get that first goal, throw odds out the window, throw the form book out the window, throw who you're playing out the window. That first goal at home, stadium will be absolutely rocking. They could carry that form into the result that they need. So, not saying it's going to happen, not even saying it's likely to happen, but crazier shit has happened. And like, PSG is certainly not the lock of all locks. I like goals, but anything could happen in this game.
Stuttgart to score in the first half, plus 140.
I was just taking a look at that. That's not bad.
Stuttgart to score in the first half, plus 140. Let's jump into just a little bit of player props here. Again, this is the predicted lineup from FOTMob. They don't do a great job, but they at least let me know who's suspended or like who's ineligible. So one thing we got to talk about here is Undav. Undav, he's kind of the guy. He started 5 of the 7. He hasn't come on as a sub. I think that him to score is certainly worth a look, especially at plus 280 over on FanDuel. I think that's a flat out disrespectful number. The other number that is flat out disrespectful on Undav, the man's been offsides 9 times. He's been offsides once in every single game he's played in Champions League. He leads Champions League in the offsides market with 9. He's minus 110 to be offsides. And you need goals at home to win in advance. Yeah, give me that. That's a smash spot for me.
Better be offsides. No, I dig that. I wish I could even like give you insight into this market because I don't have it. But that like you have found in every single game just an amazing fucking spot for that bet. The one to me that seems a little out there is Barcola plus 500 for an assist.
Red hot.
I don't know. Like he's going to be spamming balls into the middle there. So plus 500 in a game that both teams are going to be going for it, where you need goals to get in. That's a silly number. Obviously, you talked about Hakimi. If you want to put something on like he's a similar number for an assist, I think you could almost take anybody in PSG's midfield or forward line for an assist in this one. So a lot of value depending on who you like.
Yeah, I definitely think we see Kenyon Lee in some way, shape, or form, whether or not it's at the 9 or whether or not it's at right wing. I don't think we see 14 Doye, whatever his name is. I think we see Kenyon Lee, whether or not he's playing center and Dembele is on the right, or if Kenyon Lee's on the right and Dembele is playing the 9. I do think we get Kenyon Lee in this game. Like you said, I love this entire midfield for shots on target for PSG. Zaire Emery, Vatan, Neves, and especially Hakimi, because he's going to be taking a bunch of set pieces. Guys to target from corners and from set pieces. You know, your set piece targets here. You got to look at Marquinhos and you got to look at Mittelstadt. Mittelstadt is another guy who's going to hang around at the top of the box and will jack one with his foot as well, especially if Stuttgart's in deep and they have possession deep in the box. He'll be the guy who's just going to jack up a shot to get a goal kick so that he can then rotate back and that prevents a counter from happening. So, Mittelstadt, I would definitely look at for a single shot. Same with Hakimi. Hakimi's probably going to be worse, though, because he's going to likely be on set pieces. Marquinhos is the guy who's going to get up and going to compete for a bunch of aerials here on PSG. Nice. Make sure you check out the promo code below. Sign up if you need a sports book. BetUS is fantastic. I use them. I did their La Liga show with them. I still work with Flash every single week. BetUS plus 125% deposit code. I bet all my bookings over there. Speaking of bookings, like this one's flooded with bookings. Marquinhos, Vatan, for sure is worth a look. Hakimi and Zaire Emery are both kind of hacks. Mitterstalt, again, is a guy who's going to shoot, but can also be a little bit of a hack. Cahoot back there, number 24 for Stuttgart, is a guy who's definitely prone to cards. So yeah, check it out. BetUS, sign up code below. Next up, we have Aston Villa versus Celtic. Both of these teams are in, and Villa is mostly the one in competition for potentially getting a bye here, but Celtic could also get a bye with a win. Look, Celtic's got some issues. Medea is obviously suspended on a red card. He is a pretty good chunk of their offense. Villa has been a little bit disappointing on the road, but they have been much better at home. I think Unai Emery is a very underrated manager, especially when it comes to tournament football. You guys got to remember, tournament football is different, and Spanish managers tend to do very, very well, especially when it comes to tournament football. And Unai Emery is a seasoned vet when it comes to knowing how to win in tournament football. So I do like Aston Villa here. I don't know if I like them enough to cough up the -1. It's going to kind of depend on what we see out of the lineups here. The over 2.5 seems a touch high for me. I'm probably not going to take the under 2.5. Villa's team total is obnoxiously high to me here. Again, Medea suspended for Celtic is a major miss here for them. So I think this one's going to be Villa. I wouldn't be surprised if they score 2. Whether or not Celtic get on the score sheet is kind of the big thing for me here. I do think Villa win this game, and I do think that they toss their hat in the rink to potentially get a bye, but they're going to want to do a good job trying to run up the score differential on a little bit of a depleted Celtic offense.
Yeah, and that's why the odds are where they are. The question you have to ask yourself is, how much do we trust them, right? They're coming off of a really poor game against Monaco. That was away from home. And then they turned around in the Premier League.
By really poor, you mean lost 1-0.
Lost 1-0, yeah. I mean, I think that's poor. I don't know. I mean, you pretty much could have qualified with a bye with a win in that game.
True. There was a lot on the line there. I will give you that.
So that's a bummer for them. They turned around, went back to the Premier League, a 1-1 draw at home to West Ham, where they scored a goal early and then pretty much did nothing the rest of the game. West Ham dominated that game. And
sure
West
did.
Ham's not very good.
You can feel that goal coming all second half.
Absolutely. So my real issue with them is their defense just isn't very good. So kudos to them that they've gotten themselves on 13 points in 9th place with a chance still to be in that top 8. But their defense is suspect. It's been better in Champions League than it has been in the Premier League, but the games just haven't looked convincing. So quite honestly, it's a tough spot for me to say I'm going to get involved and buy that there's going to be an over, and buy that they're going to hit their team total, and buy that the money line at -180 is worth even a parlay piece, or maybe you want to take -0.75 and protect yourself a little bit. It's tough to see all of that upside other than, hey, a win pretty much gives you that chance to get into that buy situation. So really tough game for me, quite honestly. It's, do you believe in the Aston Villa that we saw the first 6 games, or do you believe in the current form that they're in right now? I think they're fortunate that Celtic really has nothing to play for. Shout out to them that they've gotten themselves into an automatic spot into that knockout round. What are we going to see out of them is the unknown variable here. So I'm sorry, I did a lot of talking to not really give out a bet, just to kind of try to set the stage for why the odds are the way they are, and to tell you to proceed with caution.
Yeah, if we take a quick look, at who's available for Celtic in these potential lineups, where you're going to get your offense is going to be from Kuhn on the right wing, especially without Medea in there. McGregor playing the kind of 10 role here is a guy I like to hit a shot on target. Maybe to score or assist. I don't know. I kind of dig Villa to win 10-0 at plus 175, plus 170. I just think Celtic without Medea is going to be really hard pressed to find a goal here, and I don't think that they have a ton to play for. And Schmeichel's a guy who is either going to completely stand on his head or he's going to look like total ass. Yeah. And at least he's familiar with Austin Villa as being the former Leicester keeper, so that might give him a little bit of an advantage. But I don't know. I do like Ollie Watkins here. I've been big on Rogers.
Numbers so
lately.
Short, man. That's my problem.
Yeah, exactly. And all the numbers on all the Villa guys are going to be really short. So the hidden gems I always talk about on Villa are Tillemans for a shot on target. He takes a ton of their set pieces. Is a very long shot, maybe assist look. Leon Bailey has been doing kind of jack shit in the offense lately. And I do expect that we're going to start seeing him phased out for Daniel Malen. Bailey is only 27 or 28, Jamaican international, who I do mess with when it comes to CONCACAF stuff. But Daniel Malen is just flat out a better player.
Yep.
Whether or not Malen starts because he's only been with the team for 2 weeks is neither here nor there. I do like Rogers. I think he's been playing well. His to score assist number at a plus number is definitely worth a look for me. That's kind of where I'm at with this one.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to actually give out a play, and I tend to agree with you on the can they win to 0? I think that's a pretty good look. If you believe in them and you think that's the case, you can play a correct score band of 1, 2, or 3-0. That's sitting at plus 140. So that gives you a couple of options there. If you think Celtic do get on the score sheet, there's a 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 correct score band, which is actually plus 190. Just comes down to, do you guys think Celtic can score a goal or not? Those are the two that I'd be playing.
Yep, I'm kind of with you there. Guys to look out for that are fucking hacks. Carter Vickers. That guy, look, he's an American. He is the captain of Celtic, but yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be against Watkins, Rogers, potentially Malen, Ramsey, a lot of really pacey guys here. Even Bailey's got pace, even though I just said his name hasn't been showing up on the score sheet. So watch it happen this game just to, give a little fuck me. But yeah, Carter Vickers is kind of a hack, and he's definitely a guy I'd look at for a booking here.
Plus 400 to get a card on DraftKings right now. That's a fucking silly number.
Yeah. So that'll be it for this Austin Villa Celtic game. Be sure to like and subscribe right here on youtube.com/@Burrows772. It costs you absolutely nothing. It helps me out a ton. It's what allows me to keep bringing you guys this sort of content for free every single week. So, and you will get notified when we go live on Wednesday to talk some Champions League. I know Leg will be here. Nick, whether or not you're available, let me know. You're always welcome. Yeah. Inter versus Monaco. These are two teams with legitimate chances at a bye. Inter, you might want to say that they've been underwhelming in Champions League. That's fine. If you're going to say that, though, it's because you've specifically watched their away games. Because, listen, I talk about it all the time. Italian teams, when it comes to tournament football, are just dumb hard to beat. There's a reason that Spain and Italy are teams that to English fans, they call them surprises. It's not fucking surprising if you know anything about history. These teams will murder you in home and away competitions because what do? They know not to give up goals away. Period. End of story. It does not matter. It doesn't have to look pretty. You don't have to go and run up the score against scrubs away, especially in this new group format. Inter scored 2 and conceded 1 away. That's how you put yourself in a dominant position. That's how you are sitting fifth on the table, fourth on the table with 16 points, with one of the best chances to get a bye. You probably are looking at a bye even with a draw here at home against a Monaco team who has been playing really, really well. But you get draws on the road, you don't give up goals, and you win your fucking home games. And that's how you end up becoming Champions League. That's how you get crowned King of Champions League. That's it. That's what this tournament's all about. So it's not the prettiest. It's not the best. But look, dude, Inter minus 160 on the money line here is maybe the easiest fucking parlay piece I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know if you think Monaco's that good, draws a runner, but to think that Inter's not going to score a goal at home in the San Siro is a little whack to me, especially because Inter's home form has been insane in Champions League. They've scored 6, conceded 0. Like, I could see Inter maybe winning on a clean sheet here. Monaco probably wants a crack at that bye, but they have a really big goal differential to make up, and I don't think they're going to run up a 4-goal differential on Inter here, who hasn't coughed up a single goal in the San Siro. So, I expect Monaco to come out and compete. I do expect to see their best starting 11 or minimum the first 45 minutes. If this score starts to get out of hand, I could easily see both of these teams rotating and putting in some subs second half. A little less so for Inter, just because having a guaranteed first round bye is big. They're going to want to win this game. They're going to want their 3 points. Nope. You don't want to leave it up to anything else by getting a draw and potentially having, I don't want to say, and being right on the cusp there in like the 7th, 8th position. You don't want that for Inter, though I do think a point kind of gets them to a guaranteed bye. So
yeah, it does.
I expect to see strong starting 11s out of both of these guys. We might see some rotation second half, depending on how the first half goes. But yeah, I like Inter here on the money line. I think that's a great little parlay piece. I love Inter on the -1. That seems kind of like a free hit because I think Inter is either winning this game. I don't know if they're going to do it by multiple goals, but I'm happy to take a push and get my money back on a -1 for a 1-0 Inter win at +105. Over 2.5 at -105. I don't think I'm going to get there. I would rather play Inter team total over 1.5 at -160. Again, money line or that is a parlay piece. Yep. I don't know if Monaco's scoring. I think the +162 on Monaco not to score is a real runner here. And I think the under 2.5 at +128 is a real runner as well.
Yeah, that's where I was at. I like the under here. You hit the nail on the head. Inter, do what they need to do. 8 goals scored, 1 goal conceded. And the goal conceded was a 93rd minute corner kick, like very uncharacteristic mistake. Or they would have a perfect record and they'd already be into that second round with the bye. So I think being at home, absolutely massive here. Full credit to Monaco. We've talked about French teams. They're overperforming thus far in the competition, but it's a team I can never really make heads or tails of. They don't score enough game in and game out to be a threat. They don't defend super well. They're giving up over a goal a game. Tough one for them to overcome. I think they're going to be happy to be in the next round for sure. Would they like the win here? Of course they would, but
who wouldn't like a win in the San Siro?
Inter's going to do what they do. So I definitely like the under at -1 or +128. I think if you want to get cheeky, you could look at the draw here. +320 is a pretty fat number, especially when a draw suits Inter just fine. I think that's a little bit of a sneaky way to approach this game.
I definitely don't hate it. We'll take a quick look at some player stuff here. Look, Lautaro Martinez is a guy you always have to look at for Inter. I know that he has had his struggles, especially in Champions League, but like, if you're going to hang +140 on him to score, it's more than worth a look.
I think he has goals in 3 straight, if I'm not mistaken. He definitely went through a rut, but I think he's starting to pick it back up. He has goals in 2 straight for sure. I think it's 3.
I know he scored over the weekend,
Yep.
for sure. I don't know his form in Champions League off top. It's something I will get while I continue to talk. Thuram has gotten back on the score sheet.
He's due.
He scored over the weekend. I think that you can look at him to score or assist, even at a little bit of a minus number. I definitely don't hate that. I'm just looking this up real quick. Inter obviously handled their business super well over the weekend. They went into Lecce and they completely dominated a beverage and got a 4-0 win. Martinez did score against Sparta Prague. Dumfries got his goal chalked off, which kind of pissed me off. That said, you have to look at Dumfries for a shot on target. You also should probably look at him to score or assist, if we're being honest. Dumfries has been absolutely in his fucking bag lately. I love him in this wing back spot instead of playing right back where they have Pavard. And it's been like 4 years. I'm never going to forgive Pavard for taking a red card when he was on Byron. It was, I found the most broken number ever. It was one of the few times that they gave Alphonso Davies run as playing a winger. And Pavard took a red card in the 11th minute. And so I had Alphonso Davies 2 shots at like plus 280. I had Alphonso Davies shot on target, 2 shots on target. And Pavard took a red card in the 12th minute. And of course, Davies went right back to right back. So I do have a grudge against Pavard there. That said, he's always worth a look for a card. Same with De Vrij. Both of them can be kind of acts, but Dumfries has been in his fucking bag lately. I love him for the Dutch national team. I believe he had 3 assists against the USA, in the World Cup. But the kid's a stud. His shot on target at plus money is a must play. 2 shots is worth a look. 2 shots plus a shot on target. I got over the weekend at plus like 200. He only shot once and put it on frame. I believe he had a goal before, and then it got subbed off.
Yep.
But there's a lot to like in this midfield. I've been making a ton of money on DeMarco just to take 2 shots. He's another guy who can get goal contributions from this midfield. Mkhitaryan likes
take
to
set
rip
pieces
him.
Also.
Yep. Mkhitaryan likes to rip him. Bellerow likes to rip him. No Kalahulungu too. So like that makes me like Dumfries even more. Yeah. And that's why I liked him so much over the weekend, because it was like, okay, you're not going to play DeMarco and I'm not going to play Kalahulungu. So Mkhitaryan and Dumfries got to be shooting then.
Yep, 100%. No, I'm with you. Plus 200 on Dumfries goal or assist. Plus 200 on DeMarco goal or assist if you want to get silly and you think Inter do the deed. But Dumfries is the guy that's in form right now. So absolutely the play. I couldn't agree with you more.
As far as Monaco goes, I like Mbolo. I've always liked Mbolo. He's a big body guy who can match up against the Italians well. He can play back to goal. He can get some really greasy shit in front of the net, especially he can body up a guy like De Vrij and like Pavard. Ben Seeger has been pretty decent for him, and Minamoto, who's a former Arsenal guy, has been playing really well for Monaco. I'm not particularly looking at any of them for goals. Shots on target is about as far as I'm willing to go with those guys, just because it would not surprise me if Inter keep a clean sheet here.
I agree. I'm definitely on the under with you.
Cool. All right, guys, be sure to follow us on all social medias. I'm at Baroque77, Twitter, X, Instagram. Nick's stuff, he is at Nick Dianni. You can see it, his name tag right up here on the broadcast. Follow him on Twitter. He also does a great podcast with his bud Scotty and Coach that is on every week right after 2 Foot Talk, the Kicks and Picks pod. So you can check in the video description for all that stuff and all the links as well. So Lille versus Feyenoord. Both of these guys are 11th and 12th on the table. Either team with a win here can jump up. They're tied with Leverkusen, who's got a much better goal differential on 13 points. But either of these teams could jump up and get an automatic first-round bye here. We've talked at length about how nasty the French teams have been at home, but Feyenoord has just proven to us how absolutely nasty they are. They just skull-fucked Bayern 3-0 at home. Now, Feyenoord is a club that's going to get a major boost by playing at home. That stadium is absolutely electric, but they have some nasty players on this team. I think that the draw is very much a runner here at plus 270. I think Feyenoord plus 0.5 on the Asian handicap is very much worth a look at minus 125. I think the over 2.5 and both teams to score and maybe even over 2.5 here is more than worth a look.
Yes.
Real's defense hasn't been, stellar. They obviously lost 2-1 to Poole. That was away, but at home they coughed up 2 to Sturm Graz. And they had a 1-1 tie versus Juventus recently. So yeah, look, I think Feyenoord can find the back of the score sheet. I think Feyenoord should be riding high and playing with all the confidence in the world, coming off of beating Bayern 3-0 at home. That's something that's absolutely unheard of in Champions League. And I think that they should be looking to try and push for this first round bye. So I like the over here. I like both teams to score, and I think a cheeky little play. Feyenoord to score twice at plus 165 seems like fat value.
Absolutely. Once again, we're back in form. We're back in sync. I'm going to echo everything you said. I love when we're on the same side of things. I like it even more when we don't like pre-plan it, which we typically don't. It always makes me feel good to be on the same side as a good handicapper. Feyenoord's the real deal. They've been the real deal in Holland for some time. They've been the real deal in Europe for some time. They're making finals. Yes, it hasn't always been the Champions League, but Europa Cup finals and so on and so forth. They score goals. They're over. If it's set at 2.5, it is almost an automatic bet, especially if they're
17
home.
goals in Champions League.
17 goals in Champions League against pretty good competition, by the way. They've done a fantastic job the past couple of weeks to get themselves into this position to even fight for a bye. So shout out them. I think they're going to carry this momentum. As good as Lille has been, probably the upset so far of the competition, or the surprise of the competition. Credit to them. They're going to be at home. They're going to be tough. I think they're scoring a goal. Both teams to score right there. Over 2.5 right there. I think the over, it's definitely moved a little bit. It's moved about 15 cents, but probably still good enough to play on its own. You also nailed it, man. Over 1.5 team total.
Feyenoord scored 3 goals in every single away game, dude.
There you have
it. They scored 3. They won 2-3 in Girona, and whatever you think of Girona, Spain's always a tough place to play, and that's early in the competition. They fucking went into Portugal and dropped 3 on Benfica, which is insanely tough because we know how good Benfica is in Europe, and they went on the road and they drew 3-3 with City. Like, say what you want about City's defense, but like putting 3 up at the Etihad ain't fucking a walk in the park, dude.
Feyenoord win and over 1.5 is plus 310. Feyenoord win and over 2.5 is plus 390. So a 2-1 win for Feyenoord is getting you almost plus 400. Just saying.
Yeah, I love the over 1.5 at plus 165. I'll look it up. Next, I want to get into player props a little bit. When we talk Feyenoord goals, you are doing an absolute disservice to yourself if you're not talking about Santiago Jimenez. The guy's an absolute fucking stud. I think he had like 40 goals a couple of seasons ago. I know he had a little bit of an injury. He does kind of go ghost for the Mexican national team, but that team is in complete shambles. They need a lot of help, whether new manager, new system, whatever. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to tell you is Santiago Jimenez for an anytime goal scorer at plus 210 is a flat out fucking disrespectful number, especially if I think Feyenoord's scoring twice. He's definitely going to get 1, I believe. He also takes all the penalty kicks. So at plus 210, I think that's flat out disrespectful. I also know Paxico is playing really, really good ball right now. He can score as well as assist. So if you can find his to score assist number at a plus number, that's always something I'm interested in. As I'm looking it up, Feyenoord to score 3 on the road here that they've done in every Champions League game is plus 520. I'm just saying, if you want that team total over 2.5, plus 520 is worth a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and again, like we obviously one of the reasons we're talking about it, it's not a meaningless game. They can still get what they need out of getting a win. So why wouldn't we take a chance with everything you just told us about the form that they're in, the result they just came off of? It's absolutely worth a stab.
There's nothing with a loss. Like, that's
Exactly.
the other thing is they'll commit to playing forward and scoring goals because they're not in danger of dropping out of Champions League with a loss here.
Spot. So love that. Jimenez plus 200 or better is a no-brainer. Absolutely with you. The one guy I don't understand, I'd love your take on it because I know his numbers are good. I know everybody talks about him. I know every time I see results, he seems to do something. Anytime I watch Jonathan David, I'm never impressed. But he's been kind of doing it. So am I wrong on him? Or what's your take?
He's been a bit of a penalty merchant. I'm not going to lie to you. Look, you
like
know,
plus 115. I don't know. That doesn't move.
Yeah, plus 125 over on DK. Like, I'm taking it at that number because he takes all the penalty kicks.
Okay.
From open play, he hasn't been as impressive as I'd like. You know, I'm a huge fan of the Canadian men's national team. Shout out my boy Jesse Marsh, absolutely fucking holding it down up there. Look, I'm very happy with Poch, but like, I thought it was a no-brainer to give Jesse Marsh the job. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. I like Jonathan David. I like Kyle Larin. I like Alphonso Davies. Like, I fuck with that Canadian men's national team heavy. I think they're always very underrated and disrespected when it comes to CONCACAF.
Yes.
I think they have very nice players. David's been the guy for a while in Leal when they finished second behind PSG 2 or 3 years ago, and they made it out of groups. They made a little bit of a deep Champions League run. Like, This is a team that obviously had to sell some guys. Lost what's his name to Chelsea, the center back that Madrid was looking at. But they've put it together and they've played well and they've hung around tough in League One too. So, you know, they're not a pushover. They are going to be tough at home. But yeah, I see goals here from both sides. And if you're going to give me Jonathan David at plus 125, it's a no-brainer.
So here's where I'm at with him. If we think there's going to be goals, which we do, if we think both teams are going to score, which we do, if we think David's the guy, which sounds like we do, Jonathan David to score a header plus 1,000.
I like it.
I'm going to take a stab. You know what I mean? Like that. Well, that's a spot where if I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go for it. Plus 1,000 is a silly number. You know, could be dangerous off a set piece. Obviously, he's going to play in the middle of that 4-3-3. He should get opportunities.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, he's getting. Unfortunately, I don't like to say it because I am a big Jonathan David guy. He definitely deserves a little bit of a rap of a penalty merchant, but I don't know. Against Feyenoord's perfectly capable of coughing him up, and It's not like David sucks from open play. It's just that he's been getting a lot of PK goals. And I'm not going to knock him for Leal being able to draw a bunch of penalty kicks. And that's what you want out of a striker, like a guy who's going to go to the spot with confidence. And when he goes and lines up at the spot, you're like, that's a fucking make. Like, that's what I want on a guy at plus 125.
Yeah, agree. Hey, listen, the other thing I want to say, Feyenoord to score a goal in the first half, plus 120. I think that's just kind of silly.
Love it. Yeah, because there's, again, absolutely nothing to lose. Feyenoord to score the first goal. That hit last time we were talking against Bayern. Yep. I told you Jimenez to score the first goal and Feyenoord to score first against Bayern. A game went completely sideways on me. I thought Bayern would have some sort of fight and life in them, but they didn't. But luckily, Feyenoord kind of took care of that, especially with my first half over, because that's where I was at. But anyway, Nick unfortunately had to take off, but I am going to keep chugging by myself. I got 2 more games I want to cover for you guys, starting with Dortmund versus Shakhtar. And the reason we're going to talk about this one is, despite popular belief, Shakhtar is not dead. They definitely still have a chance at making it. They're going to need City to draw or lose to Bruges. They're going to need PSG to win outright away at Stuttgart. They could use some help from Sporting and Benfica as well. So it's a very, very long shot, but Shakhtar's not dead, and we do have to talk about this. They're going to come out. They're going to attack. They're going to stand on the gas pedal, which can open up some stuff here for Dortmund, who has been playing really, really well at home, despite some results they have gotten. I know Nick's not here to defend him, but look, I've been on his show. I got no problem taking some shots at Scotty here real quick. Scotty, you know where my DMs are at. I'm always happy to talk with you. If you want to answer back or chirp back at me, you're more than welcome. Dortmund at home has been monstrous this season. They have had a little poor stretch of form right before going to winter break. They got a draw versus Bayern, which to me I consider kind of a win, especially with where Dortmund has been on the table. After winter break, they had Hoffenheim at home, which was a pretty poor draw, but Mainz also beat Bayern that week. So it was a strange week coming back from winter break where guys who don't play European football were super well rested. So I'm making a little bit of an excuse there for Dortmund. You do need to win that game. Then they lost to Leverkusen in a 2-3 on a Friday night, which is, Leverkusen's number 2 in the league. So again, I'm making an excuse there for Dortmund. And then over the weekend, they took a red card in the 12th minute. It was a terrible red card by Schlotterbeck. And Dortmund scored twice to go up 2-0 and then conceded late when their legs got tired versus Werder Bremen. Again, I'm making excuses, but prior to that, Dortmund was undefeated at home. So Dortmund in front of the yellow wall is typically decent. And Shakhtar is in a rough spell. They don't have a home. They don't have a home stadium. They're a Ukrainian team, and they're playing their games in Germany. So this is actually short travel for them, which is kind of an advantage here. But yeah, Shakhtar's not dead. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying that they're going to come out and attack, and that can open some things up here. Dortmund is the farthest thing from watertight at the back, so Shakhtar scoring a goal at -167 wouldn't surprise me. It might be a parlay piece if you want to put something together there. Both teams to score over 2.5. That almost kind of gets you a plus number. Probably not, just with what they're expecting out of Dortmund. The over 3.5, I'm probably not going to touch. It is nice at plus 130. I'm not getting involved with Dortmund on a spread no matter what. This Dortmund team has just been too up and down for me, and their starting 11 has been really inconsistent, and we're going to get into it with some player prop talk really quickly. But yeah, I just don't know what we're going to see out of this Dortmund starting 11. They obviously just fired their manager. Some guys are playing for their jobs. They've been shaking this lineup around a lot. One guy you can depend on starting is Girassi. So I definitely think that he is going to be in the starting 11 and is worth a look for an anytime goal at plus 105. The other guy that I'm pretty confident is going to play is Bino Gittins, Jamie Bino Gittins, English international. I really like him. His anytime goal is at plus 250 over on Bet365, plus 220 on Bet Rivers, which is nice because they do void non-starters. I could see his to score assist. Brandt is going to be the guy who's taking almost all of the corners and a majority of the free kicks. So Brandt for an assist is another thing I would look at. Karim Adeyemi has been in and out of this lineup. I don't know whether or not they're going to keep Karim Adeyemi. I have heard rumors of him potentially making a move to Napoli, which I think is a great move for Napoli. I think he would make a nice little Special K replacement. But wherever Dianni ends up, I need to see him getting more consistent run. He's a guy I really liked on RB Salzburg. Came over to Dortmund, had a very, very good year last year. I don't know why he's struggled to find the lineup, but who knows? He's got to earn some playing time under this new manager. Schlotterbeck, like I mentioned, he had a terrible red card very early over the weekend, but he is a big target for set pieces here. He's a guy who can get his head on one, and he was going to be hanging out at the top of the box. Emery Chan is another guy who will shoot on occasion. If they start Gio Reyna, he's been in a nice little form. I know Nick had to take off, but he's a guy who I could definitely see for a shot on target. If he's healthy and able to play, I don't see any reason why Sabitzer is not in the lineup. So Sabitzer is another guy I like to shoot and for shots on target. So look, this starting 11 for Dortmund has been a pretty big mess, and we're going to have to kind of wait for lineups to see what to do with this. This will be something that I try and cover a little bit more on the live show Wednesday. As far as Shakhtar is concerned, I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about their guys and who's playing for them and who's a threat for goal or to do anything really. I know that they've also kind of started trending towards playing some of your younger guys. So look, all I wanted to say about this one is Dortmund has been suspect at home. Historically has been good. I've made some excuses about their last few results at home. They should win here at home. Shakhtar isn't dead, but they need a lot of help. It's not necessarily that I believe in Shakhtar, but it is short travel. They might be able to get something here. Dortmund's not going out with a loss, and they're likely not. Actually, they might. They might sneak into a bye spot with a win here. They're top of the group of teams with 12 points. So if they get 3, that gives them 15. They're going to need Atalanta, Leverkusen, Aston Villa, Monaco, Feyenoord, Lille, and Brest to have some things break their way. But they're +8 on the goal differential. They're the first team that could jump up into a bye spot out of all of those teams I listed above them if some results break their way on the table. So again, Dortmund team, they struggle a shit ton on the road. They typically hold down their fort in front of the yellow wall at Dortmund. And it's a team that constantly does very well in Europe, and even when they're struggling domestically in Bundesliga. So it wouldn't surprise me for Dortmund to get a win here. I might walk back my statement a little bit, and I don't know. Look, I don't want to get involved in Dortmund at -1.5. It's a personal preference. If you wanted to, I can see the argument for it now that I've kind of worked my way talking through this match. So this is going to depend a lot on the starting 11 for me, but Dortmund should come out and play 90 minutes, full fucking throttle. You get a win here, you get 3 points, you're very much in line for a bye if the table breaks your way. So I definitely think that's something that has to be looked at and has to be talked about. And again, Shakhtar is not dead. They need a lot more help than Dortmund does, but if they manage 3 points, they're certainly not dead, especially if City fails to get the job done versus Bruges. So something to keep an eye on here in a very competitive game where, everybody on Dortmund's priced to help make us money because of how crap they've been domestically and recently in a run of form. So this is a good spot for Dortmund to turn it around and a good spot for us to make some money. So I like this game a lot, and that's why we're covering it. Be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/Burrows772. That way you get notified anytime I drop a new video, anytime I go live. It costs you absolutely nothing. It helps me out a ton. It lets me bring you these sorts of videos every week for free. So please, please, please like and subscribe on YouTube. This is it, guys. The one you have all been waiting for. This is Brest versus Real Madrid. fuck what you heard. It's Real Madrid by a million. Yes, I know Vinny is suspended. Yes, I know that Brest is very tough at home. Yes, I know French teams have been very tough at home. We've been talking about it all day. But it's Madrid by a million. I like Madrid. I'm the -1.5 here at +105. I don't know if I love that team total over 2.5 at +124. I think both teams to score over 2.5 is a very live play. So do the books. Unfortunately, Brest to score a goal at -180 is pretty thin. Like I said, Vinny is suspended for this one, so I fully expect a Rodrigo heavy game. Bellingham has been on absolute fire, but Rodrigo, what was it? Last time I talked, it was Rodrigo had 11 goal contributions in his last 9 games. We'll add to that with Rodrigo picking up an assist to Kylian Mbappe. So that is going to be 12 goal contributions in his last 10 games for Real Madrid. I love Rodrigo to score an assist here. I like him for a goal. I like him for an assist outright. Both numbers are perfectly playable. We'll get into player props a little bit more. I don't necessarily see Madrid keeping a clean sheet, especially if Vasquez plays. He is off suspension, but he did take a knock. So whether or not Vasquez is going to be available is up for debate. I personally think we're better without Vasquez. I think that it gives the right side a little bit more confidence. Whether or not we see Asensio playing right back or center back, with Fetty playing right back, or with Tuch playing center back and Asensio playing, center back. It's all kind of fluid here. I trust Madrid. I think they're going to get it done. Again, I've been very critical of Lucas Vasquez, especially on the defensive end. But yeah, I like Madrid here. Madrid with not the lowest, but one of the lower goal differentials, sitting on 12 points. A win here gets them to 15 points. That puts them in the conversation for the bye. They're going to need some stuff to break their way with Atalanta, Leverkusen, Aston Villa, Monaco, Feyenoord, Lille, Brest, Dortmund, and Bayern stuff kind of breaking their way. But if Madrid's able to run up some goals here and get a better goal differential than 5, they will put themselves in a very strong position to potentially get a bye, which would be huge for them, especially with the cards rules that I kind of explained in the intro, but we'll quickly go over. Cards do not wipe after this group stage or qualification stage, whatever we want to call it. And that is definitely an issue for Madrid because Vasquez is sitting on 3 cards. Vinny Jr. is obviously suspended for this one, sitting on 3 cards. So getting a bye really helps us out with our hacks. We don't have to worry so much about guys getting suspended for the front end of a home and away. We can kind of get away with them on the back end and then having them clear before the semifinals. So a bye here for Madrid would be huge. That said, I am going to need to see this starting 11, see what it looks like. I do expect our best foot forward and our biggest strength here. And there's some really good numbers on Madrid here away, especially. Mbappe for an anytime goal is -115. If you're okay laying juice on an anytime goal scorer, I'm perfectly fine going there. Rodrigo for an anytime goal is +195. I love that. I like his to score assist. If you can get that at a plus number, I like his assist straight up. Jude Bellingham to score a goal at +200 is fantastic. Again, he's a guy that you can take for an assist as well. I personally am kind of sick of seeing Brahim Diaz. I know what he can do. I know what he's capable of. I know what his deficiencies are. I would much rather see Arda Güler. I think Güler is a better player. So I like Güler more than I like Brahim Diaz. I definitely don't hate with going Modric over Ceballos. It's not that I don't like Dianni Ceballos. I just think Modric is a much better ball handler and a much better passer. I think people who are dick riding Dianni Ceballos and comparing him to he can play the Tony Cruz role. No, the fuck he can't. Have you watched Danny Ceballos play? Like, he's a solid defender, but like he's not dropping in perfect fucking dots like Tony Cruz was. And Modric is a little bit better at that. Tuchemeni, if he's not playing center back, I definitely don't hate him in the midfield. He's a guy who I think is very, very underrated. And he's been playing out of position a lot at center back. So I think he's caught a lot of shit for that. If Kamavinga's healthy, he's another kid I absolutely love. Rudiger is always a good look for a shot. I really like Rudiger. Mendy's a liability on set pieces. I like what Fran Garcia shows every time we give him a shot. So I don't hate seeing Fran Garcia. I really liked our lineup over the weekend versus Valladolid. I don't know how many adjustments I personally make from that, but in Don Carlo, we got big trust. Madrid win this game. I don't know enough about Brest to really get in the weeds on these player props. It's something I'll dig into with the Discord, which, by the way, check out the link below. Join the Discord. We had a hell of a run over the weekend. We found 3 mispriced broken lines last week that all hit. So we're riding super high as a team right now. And we're looking forward to making some more money and getting after it with this massive Champions League slate where we have, 18 games kicking off at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. I will be watching the Madrid match. I know I said that the must-watch games are City versus Bruges and Stuttgart versus PSG. I will have those on as well, but come on, guys. Come on. I like watching my bets, but it's Madrid. That's the game that's getting the big TV with the sound, and everything else is secondary. I like Madrid to win. I like them to run it up. I like them to try and get their goal differential up, despite how successful Brest has been, especially at home. So that's going to be kind of it for me. That's 9 games that I ran through, 7 with Nick, 2 by myself because I ate into Nick's free time a little bit. He had to run for some work-related stuff. So as always, I look forward to seeing you at the window. Please be sure to like and subscribe right here on YouTube. We will be going live at 2 p.m. I will be joined by Leg tomorrow right before Champions League. And to get any additional stuff that I'm moving on early before Twitter, before anybody else, it's in the Discord. You can join right down here. Links are in the description to my Discord and the Dub Club that I do with Flash every weekend, where me and Flash bring a live video every Friday night. Look forward to seeing you guys at the window as always. Until next time, I am Burrows and I'm out. Doses. We outside!